2, 1, and we are live. It's not for being my well-being, but for any being on the planet to be in need just shouldn't be. The laws of equilibrium dictate that the political economy will not equilibrate till the wages in Africa are at par with the wages here. Hi, my name's Paul Duchesne, and welcome to Mama Paul's video podcast. Today is Tuesday, September the 1st, 2020. And the theme of the show is poetry, politics, and tea. We're going to open with a little poem. We're going to talk some politics, maybe some current events, maybe get into a little political economy. At the end, if I have a little time, I'd like to drink some tea, maybe read another poem or some profound statement by some major philosopher. We'll see what happens. So we're going to open up with a poem, and the poem we're going to start with is Jane Hirshfield's new book of poem, and the book is called Ledger, and there's a copy of the book. It's called Ledger. And I'll give you a better shot of it here on the full page. That's Ledger by Jane Hirshfield. And Kay Ryan, a writer who demonstrates in every possible way that this life matters, says Kay Ryan about this book. A writer who demonstrates that this life matters. Kay Ryan is a local poet. I really like a lot of her work, and we're going to read her as we go along. On the inside jacket cover, it says, a pivotal book of personal, ecological, and political reckoning from the internationally renowned poet named, quote, among the modern masters. Ledger's pages, Ledger being the title of the book, Ledger, okay? Ledger's pages hold the most important and masterly work yet by Jane Hirshfield, one of our most celebrated contemporary poets. From the already much-quoted opening lines of despair and defiance, let them not say we did not see it, we saw. Her poems inscribe a registry both personal and communal of our present-day predicaments. Her signature alloy of fact and imagination, clarity and mystery, inquiry, observation, and embodied emotion has created a book of indispensable poems, tuned towards issues of consequence to all who share this world's current and future fate. Let's get right to it. Just read the opening poem. It's Let Them Not Say. Let them not say we did not see it, we saw. Let them not say we did not hear it, we heard. Let them not say they did not taste it, we ate, we trembled. Let them not say it was not spoken, not written, we spoke, we witnessed with voices and hands. Let them not say they did nothing, we did not enough. Let them say, as they must say, something. A kerosene beauty, it burned. Let them say we warmed ourselves by it, read by its light, praised, and it burned. Whoa. Let them not say we did not see it. We saw, we watched. We watched the orange-headed, Elmer Gantry-esque, narcissistic gangster come down that escalator at Trump Towers to a crowd of people announcing he was going to run for president. Well, that crowd of people was mostly paid actors who were getting paid a stipend to come out for 4 hours for that day. At the time, Trump could not get a crowd of people in New York to come out to listen to him talk. Nobody in New York liked Trump, respected Trump. They thought it was a joke that he was running for president. Ha ha, the joke's on us. He ran, and he figured out how to do it along the way. He's not as stupid as he looks. So let them not say we did not saw it. We saw. We're sort of like, I feel like we're much like a lobster in a pot, and the water was nice and cool when we started, and it got warmed up a little bit, and it's 4 years later, and I'm telling you, we are about to get boiled to death if we don't do something. The poem ends, a kerosene beauty, it burned. Let them say we warmed ourselves by it, read by its light, praised, and it's burned. Now, I am not a terribly deep intellectual, believe me. I am very much on the surface of things. Those last lines, I don't know exactly what she meant by it, but for me, the kerosene beauty that's burning is Rachel Maddow, who every night brings us a decent set of stories with factual information that can be verified. And that's the key here. If you're watching Fox News and you try to verify anything, you're going to have to go to Fox News to verify what it is they're saying, because most of what they say are a bunch of lies. And we're going to get into that in a while. But Rachel, it seems to me, Whenever she introduces a story, she asks the person to, did I get it right? You can verify what she says. The woman is not afraid of calling out whoever it is that's doing something wrong, including she's actually gone after the people who sign her checks on a number of occasions. She has called out General Electric for either illegal or improper activities on their behalf. So I trust Rachel Maddow quite a bit. I've been listening to her for years, and I think she is a real light in the news world out there. So we're going to move on from Jane Hirshfield, and we're going to get rid of the book here. Okay, we got rid of the book. And we're going to move. Next one we're going to talk about is Utne Reader, and I'll just put it up here. Utne Reader was founded by Eric Utne in 1985, I believe, and he had written for East West Journal and New Age Journal before that, and they were starting to run their course, and he left there, and he put out Utne Reader. Interesting, it's sort of a Reader's Digest of New Age and progressive issues. He would have stuff in here from Yoga Journal, Mother Jones, The Progressive, Hightower's newsletter, East West Journal, New Age Journal. He'd have Harper's, New Yorker. Wherever there were progressive, interesting articles, he would have them, compile them, put them in the magazine for the month, and create a theme for the magazine for the month. This particular issue, it's funny, I picked this one up. This was June 19th, that's my birthday, 2 years ago. And that little bubble on the top here, it says, how the GOP can keep Trump in check. And it's on page 6. I said, oh, that's hopeful. Why the GOP Congress will stop Trump from going too far. Well, for some reason, this guy is able, I don't know if it's because he's got his mouth open all the time or what it is, but he has certainly put a stop to the Republican Party, I'll tell you that. It has become the party of Trump, pure and simple. The op-ed that Eric Utne wrote is called Feeling Hopeless, Embrace It. Feeling Hopeless, Embrace It, and then take action. Eric Utne attended an exhibition called Hippie Modernism, The Struggle for Utopia. And it was basically civil rights and anti-war activists from the 60s and 70s. And at the end, there was a speaker, a young Native American man, and he said, "You baby boomers have forgotten who you are. It's time to step back and finish what you started." Whoa. Time to step back and finish what you started. We were working for peace, civil rights, environmental protection, stopping the war, materialistic values. At the end of the day, the Vietnam War did stop. Remember, the Vietnam War was an all-conscription army. It did, and it was on the news every day also. Two things that are not the same anymore about our war posture. We have a paid-for army, and you don't see these war pictures on the news every day. So all during the 60s, you turn on the TV and you were watching what happened in Vietnam that day with people you went to school with who were conscripted over into the service. The civil rights movement was going on at the time, big time, all through the 60s. The women's rights movement was starting, and the gay liberation movement was getting started by the end of the 60s. So you've got the anti-war, the civil rights, the women's movement, and the gay liberation movement all happening coincidentally. As the 60s progressive, it's this era we will never forget, any of us that were there, and people go back and look at it nowadays and nostalgically. Well, when the Black Lives Matter movement started, I went back and I started writing about this, and I realized the connectivity between the two. It's like we had a 50-year gap, and now we're back. They're back. The young kids are back. They're on the street. The whole country's on the move right now, and maybe we can pick up some of the momentum from them. Finish what you started. And on one hand, I wonder if we know what we did start. The big rallying cry was stop the war. Well, eventually we did stop the war, but we didn't stop the war machine, And that's what we should have been stopping. It should have been stop the war machine, not stop the war. We stopped the war. We got civil rights legislation. The women's movement started to move. The gay rights liberation movement started to move. All the issues were, in a sense, co-opted by the time the 70s were going along. Everything we did that mattered, that somebody saw that was mattered, they did something to counteract it. And they were very successful, which is why we're at today with Donald Trump as president. So those were the two places where I wanted to start this. And what I was going to do is I was going to move over into a little current events for a moment here. Hold on one second. Who's there anyway? Son of a gun. Hello? Yeah. Oh, is that right? No. Well, I know who it is. No, I'm not gonna put your picture up. No. I'm not gonna say your name, and I'm not gonna put your picture up. No, I'm not. No, listen, I'll tell you why. The stuff that comes out of your mouth is just so embarrassing. I wouldn't want it. No, I wouldn't want to embarrass myself by having it attached to somebody in particular. So, if you don't mind, you do mind. Well, so, who are you yelling? This is my show. You want to do a show and have it? You put together a show. Put your picture up. Okay? Other than that, if you want to talk, I'll listen. I'll repeat what you said. I will. Honest to God. I will. I promise. But stop the yelling. It's my show. You stop the yelling. Go on Fox if you want to go yell at people. Okay. Let's get to the issue here. Right. I mentioned the Black Lives Matter. Yeah. And why do they keep shooting people? They drive too fast? Black people drive too fast? Is that what you're going to go with? They drive too fast so they get pulled over, stopped, and get shot? What do you got your head screwed on or what? Are you nuts? They drive too fast. That's why they get pulled over. I don't know if I can, this is going to take a little bit of, you'll have to give me maybe some more words about this. You don't have any more words, huh? That's all they told you on the show? All right, let's move on to another issue, okay? All these, I know there's demonstrators all over the place, and they're marching. None of them have jobs? What do you mean none of them have jobs? How do you know they don't have jobs? Well, they're out at night not doing it. Well, neither are you. You're watching them. What do you mean? You're saying they don't have jobs? They're a bunch of lazy. What do you mean lazy? They're out there giving their own time right now on the street. They're protesting above and beyond the call of duty, for Christ's sake. I think you're completely wrong on that one also. But what's your third point? I'm only going to give you 3. That's it. No more than 3. Things always come in 3s. You get 3. What's your number 3? Give me a third one. The black community is undereducated. The teachers' unions? It's the teachers' unions that are causing the problem? All unions are I see all unions are problems, and the teachers' union, they're dumbing down, right, they're dumbing them down, yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I don't know where I guess I do know where you get your information from. Of course I do, yeah. I'm sure you're watching Fox News every night, and that's where you get your information from, and it's pretty marginal. Listen, I got to get off. That's enough time spent with you. And if maybe next week, maybe not. I don't know. I can't take too much of this from you. Okay, bye now. And next time, I'll tell you what, yeah. Next time, I'll put up a picture. It'll look more like a Trump supporter and less ambiguous like that. Okay, I will do that. Okay, if you call back again, I'll get a different picture up. Okay, bye now. Okay. I tell you, these people that watch Fox News, you can't make it up what's going on with them. I don't understand it. I honest to God don't understand it. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about was the two big issues, the two things that happened with the Democratic and the Republican conventions for the last couple of weeks. And my big takeaway from the Democratic convention 2 weeks ago was Bernie Sanders supporting Joe Biden and the Democratic Party. To me, this was huge. This was huge. Because the Bernie people have been very much anti-establishment, and Joe Biden is definitely the establishment. The trouble is, Trump is not the establishment. Trump is a whole other ballgame. And unless we get rid of Trump, we're going to be in really big trouble. And I think Bernie recognizes that really clearly, which is why he threw his support behind the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party may not be who we want them to be. They may not be everything we want. They may have been co-opted. They may actually be the real Republican Party out there. But at least there's people in there that talk in complete sentences, that make sense, and that talk about issues that I care about. So these people are very much in back of the Black Lives Matter movement, very much in back of racial justice, and I think and preserving the democracy are the big issues. So for that reason alone, I think we need to get behind Joe Biden and the Democratic Party and go in that direction. And Bernie said it right from the beginning. The second takeaway for me, it wasn't Biden's speech at the end, which was okay, but it was Barack Obama, our former president, and it almost reminded me of Eisenhower's military-industrial complex speech. When Eisenhower left office, he warned us about the military-industrial complex. Well, he was part of the military-industrial complex, which is why he could warn us about it. If he had warned us about it while he was in office, they probably would have done to him what they did to Kennedy, and there wouldn't be an Eisenhower. You know, Nixon would have become president next. So Eisenhower waited till he got out of office. He did lots of good things, including the interstates, the interstate highway system. And there were jokes about how Eisenhower didn't do anything, that he played golf all the time, and in fact, he sort of attributed it to the fact that it was better that the less he did, the better it was, which may have had quite a bit of truth to it. So anyway, Obama, for me, basically saying that democracy is threatened, that the whole constitutional system is threatened by Trump, is sort of stepping out of his usual role as somebody who placates the masses, and he's saying what's really wrong, what's really going down with this country that's really in bad shape. So he's way behind the Black Lives Matter movement, to the point where he's saying that the Black Lives Matter movement fulfills the country's dream, the original dreams of the Constitution, which eliminated, which didn't include black people, slaves, didn't include women, didn't include non-landowning whites even, the original Constitution. But the Constitution made space to change things as we went along. So it's sort of a living, breathing document, which seemed to be going along fairly well up till Citizens United recently, and it's really, I think, the living, breathing is getting the breath squeezed out of it. But within it, there's still a lot of juice. So we might be able to get some more out of this. So these guys are talking about expanding health care. They're in favor of the press, a free press. They see it as a necessary element to running a constitutional government. They believe in science. And they want to rescue the economy for all the people. I believe them. Now, whether they are going to fulfill these or not, I don't know. But at least if we get these people in power, we will have a little bit of pull, and we'll be able to steer the direction of things. If we don't, we're going to wind up in a fascist state. It's as simple as that. All right, so that was a Democratic convention, which, and Democrats really embraced the flag and America and we the people, and I thought it was a little bit too slickly produced, but it was on television and it played well, so, you know, it's the way it is. The Republican convention the next week, last week, oh my God, what a joke. It was the strangest thing I think I ever saw. Every speech, literally every speech, started off with President Trump, President Trump, President Trump. That's all they kept saying. They kept elevating him to this level that is not Donald Trump, not President Trump. So he was like up there, you know. And they used the White House as a prop. They used a citizenship swearing-in ceremony as a prop. They even took the building, the federal building around from Trump Tower. They used it for the indoor activities that were going to be in Washington, D.C. There were going to be indoor convention activities in Washington, D.C., right around from Trump Tower. They commandeered the federal building. I think it was the McMahon building, which are illegal to do that. And it's right around from Trump Tower. So once the Trump people figured out that they actually got that building, they raised the prices in the hotel by 60%. So suddenly, a one-bedroom for one person was going for $800 to $2,000 for a one-bedroom room. Honestly, you can't make this stuff up. A week later, when they were questioned about this, and some of the things that were going on about them using the buildings and all these other illegal activities that they were doing in violation of the Hatch Act and everything. The White House spokesman says people really don't care about a little dishonesty. A little dishonesty. They're getting called on a little dishonesty. Meanwhile, these guys are moving millions of dollars into the hands of their supporters. I mean, look at Bannon this last week. It goes up. Well, okay, I can't keep going on about that. What happened at the convention is they went in, the Republicans, and they reached into the Democratic convention to all the nice things that were being said about Joe Biden. They pulled it out, turned it inside out, and laid it on top of Donald Trump. So suddenly Donald Trump is made out to be this compassionate communicator. He's there for truth, justice, and the American way. He likes immigrants. He likes Muslims. He likes Mexicans. He likes women. He likes working class people. I mean, what a bunch of BS. Everything about him that's wrong, they made right. And he sort of sounded like he was almost like Joe Biden. That's the way it struck me. And it was really unbelievable watching this. At the end, then they attacked Joe Biden for being a radical socialist from the extreme left who doesn't like farmers. He doesn't like veterans. He doesn't like he's against religious freedom. He's against workers. I mean, my God, you can't make this stuff up. One thing after another after another. They just kept going on, and it was exhausting. It was exhausting. Okay, so I'm going to finish with the news there. We got about 9 minutes to go, and I'm going to show you a little. Let's get Eric Whitney out of there, and we'll put up. There's a little album I have by a. Can you see that, Roman? I'm going to play a piece from the album, and then I'll mention it. And let's see if we can get it here. That was my friend, he died. He's my deceased friend, Raman D'Amato. That's the album. Known Raman most of my life here in California anyway. And he tragically died the day that we went into lockdown. And I could sum it up and just say sex, dope, and rock and roll, and maybe you get what I'm talking about. These two, that song that you were just listening to, You Are Everything, and there's one more song. I'm going to do a show where I play both of these songs and talk about them, all the words from them, and talk about my friend, but I'm going to do that on another occasion. So I just use that as a little segue to go between things, and I changed the backdrop. And what I've got up here now is, I got 5 different boards in back of me, or 4. 1944, 2020. Whoops, 2020. 1944 is when I was born. And I've got all the presidents listed over here, from Truman, Eisenhower, Kennedy, Nixon, Obama, Trump, Bush, Clinton, blah, blah, blah. I got all of them back here. So I'm going to use this as an historical timeline to talk about things that have happened during my life, leading us to where we are today and how we got to where we are today. So that's one of the boards I'm going to use. I'm just going to show you these boards real quickly, just as a prep. And then we'll take them one by one and do some shows on them. 50 years, 1970 to 2020. I mentioned 50 years before. Thomas Piketty, the Frenchman who wrote The Capital of the 21st Century, talks about the glorious 30-year period of capitalism's robust growth. But there's a 50-year period from the end of the 60s when the Powell Memo was written, which I will put up here, and I'll explain these things as we go along, up to the current time. I'm going to explain how we got to Fox News, fair and balanced, where it came from, and how it got there. The other one is capitalism and democracy, and these were the 2 big issues that I've been floating with most of my life, actually. I did political economy at the New School back in the 70s with Robert Heilbrunner, and I got really taken by Adam Smith and the Wealth of Nations. and I've been severely disappointed by them recently. So the whole thing with capitalism and democracy goes back. 1600 is when the first slaves really get moved. Not that there hadn't been slaves before that, there certainly had been, but not to the extent in the 1600s when the cotton in India is requiring large numbers of slaves, and you've got the sugar cane in America and the cotton in America. So 1600 is when this thing really gets moving. We're coming out of the Middle Ages, moving into this new age. 1750 is when the first factories appear. And when the first factories appear, that's really the very, very, very beginning roots of capitalism. And 1776 is the year that Adam Smith publishes The Wealth of Nations and the Declaration of Independence, and you have capitalism and democracy coming together and forever being intertwined. We're going to jump ahead. 1850 is around when Karl Marx writes the economic and philosophical manuscripts, followed by Capital. In the 1900s, 2000, we're going to talk about John Maynard Keynes and Keynesian economics. We'll maybe mention Stanley Kuntz, who developed the GDP way of measuring things, a real boom for us, huh? And at the end of that, we've got Milton Friedman from the Chicago School of Economics and supply side, trickle-down economics, you want to call it, ending up with Alan Greenspan and irrational exuberance, leading us to where we are today, which is in a pile of deep duty. So that was the capitalism and democracy one. I'm going to probably spend a bunch of time on that. I won't spend as much time on this one, but I made it up anyway. And this was the basic philosophy. And I'm going to start on this side with Socrates, and then Jesus, maybe St. Paul, which is the foundation of our thinking for the day. Not much happens until we get to the Age of Enlightenment in the 1700s, 1800s. Little changes along the way until we come into current time. I'm going to make a little philosophical run through, and I'll try to keep it as light as possible. And in back of me, this is my favorite one. This is Spiritual Political Economy. Spiritual political economy is what I have been working on. It's what I feel is missing from our political economy, is we need the spiritual element put back into it. I thought it was there, and it's not there. Not there at all. What this represents are these sort of two logarithmic spirals, one coming down to the tipping point. When you hit the tipping point, you sort of go through the eye of the needle, and then time comes back in the other direction. And for me, this is the situation we're in. We're right over here now. We're coming to this tipping point. It's going to end, and we're going to come out into a new age, and the new age is going to be different than it is today. Now, whether we succumb or not, we will see. Now, so I said we're going to drink some tea at the end, so I'll tell you what, let's just go on the board. I'm going to put the tea tray up here. Whoa, look at that. All right. So we have the tea cups, little teapot, little Yixing teapot, and I'm just going to go right ahead. I've already put the tea in here, but I'm just going to put some water on there right now to get this thing steeping. I'm going to have it steep for about at least 2 minutes. The show's going to end. I'm going to try to end it right on time. This is a Kumaon tea. It's a white tea. Oh, I'll get it on the screen here. Actually, let's go up here. Let me show it to you here. That's probably better. Yeah, there we go. I think this is one of the finest teas on the planet nowadays. It's a Kumaon white. It was introduced a couple of years ago, and this young mountain company in Oregon brought it in from India. It's a marvelous white tea. It's got a really brisk flavor. I'm going to let it sit there and steep for a moment. And while it's steeping, I'm going to read from Slavoj Zizek's Panic. And this is actually Pandemic, P-A-N, and in the I there it's D-E-M. So it's actually Pandemic. Slavoj Zizek is called the most dangerous philosopher in the West. He headed up the philosophy conference in Zurich a few years ago. He's quite prolific. He's been on radio. He's been on NPR. He's an interesting guy, really interesting guy, and a lot of people will disagree with him for sure. On the introduction, he says, "Touch me not." According to John 20:17, he's quoting from the Bible. is what Jesus said to Mary Magdalene when she recognized him after his resurrection. How do I, an avowed Christian atheist, I love that, an avowed Christian atheist, how do I understand these words? First, I take them together with Christ's answer to his disciples' question as to how we will know that he is returned. Resurrected, Christ says he will be there whenever there is love between his believers. Whenever there is love between his believers. He will be there not as a person to touch, but as the bond of love and solidarity between people. So do not touch me. Touch and deal with other people in the spirit of love. All right. Slavoj Zizek, spirit of love. When that bond is between us, that's when we will know we've made it somewhere. Now we're going to pour that little tea off. A little white tea, extremely brisk, and love that tea. I'll talk about this more another day. We hit the time frame, so we're going to end it right now. Peace, patience, persistence, and we'll see you soon.